Okay, another Patreon Q&A session. Thank you, Patreon, so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. If you also want to participate in the next Q&A video, it's open to all tiers on my Patreon page, links in the description. And let's start with the first question. This one is from Augustine Marcilian. How do you combine the hardware synths into song making without losing yourself making sounds instead of music? This is a really good question. So first of all, I have two tips for you. The first tip is, first of all, separate the sessions. Make one sound design session and one music making session. Don't combine them. Don't try to make both together. So sit down with your hardware synths, with your software synths, never mind. Try to create sounds, practice sound design, record everything you do. If it's in software, for example, a software synth, you can always make presets, create sounds, make presets, name them also correctly so you can find them easier when you will need them. Also with hardware synths, with modular, record everything. If it's a chord, for example, name the chord type. If it's a melody, name the scale. Try to tag also the tempo. Record everything, slice it to size, and save it in a place where you can find it easily when you will need it. So you have the sounds ready for you. And also you practice sound design. So when you go to the music making session, already you have some experience in the sounds you want to create. If you have a sound in your head that you want to create, it will likely that it will take you less time to create it if you already created it before and you know how to approach it. So again, practice sound design, record everything, save it in places where you can find it easily. And then when you go and approach the music making session, you have already all the tools. If it's the knowledge how to create the sound, if it's the sound already from the samples, maybe it will inspire you. If it's presets you created in your soft synths. So you can sit down and concentrate only on music making. Now, there's another tip, and this is adding limitations. So maybe creating sounds is what inspires you to create music also, and you want to combine them. So have a limited time. Try to limit your time, make an alarm clock, I don't know, some sort of something that reminds you, okay, time is up. Sit down for, let's say, 1 hour. Spend 1 hour on creating a sound, half an hour on creating a sound, and that's it, and stop it, and continue with the music making. Today, it's so easy to lose yourself, to tweak one sound for 2 days, because there are the tools to make it, and you can always go back and change something. I think limit yourself. Say, I have 1 hour. After this hour, I move on. Never mind what. And learn from it. Try and practice making decisions. Learn from your decisions. Even if you listen to it a week, after a week, you listen to it again and you say, oh, this is garbage. Learn from it. What went wrong there? Study it. And then next time you approach it, you will make it better. And the next time you will make it better. You cannot... I think it's counterproductive just to go back and fix stuff all the time. You have to commit to a sound, like you said, like you wrote in the question. Try to commit more to sounds. Practice this. It takes practice, and you have to accept it. And limitations is what will help you to accept the sounds that you are making. Again, limit yourself time-wise, limit your tool set. Say, okay, today, this is the only synth I'm going to use. And again, limitations is a gift. So separate the sessions and limit yourself. Those are the two tips I can give you. Hopefully, it will help you. So the next one is from Karin Gregorian. Is music your main occupation, and how did you start with modular music? So music, if you can call it music, is my main occupation. I say if you can call it music because I do a lot of different things. I do also videos on YouTube. I make music on Bandcamp, music on DistroKid, which means Spotify, Apple Music, and all of this. And I have Patreon, which is helping me so much. So again, thank you, Patreons. And my biggest Patreon is my wife also, that helps me a lot. So yeah, this is what I do full time from the morning until the afternoon, and in the evenings also live streams, videos, composing music, Bandcamp, Spotify, and everything. Yeah, so this is what I do full time. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky, and I'm enjoying it so much. And I hope that it will continue at least like this, if not even more. We will see. How did you start with modular music? Okay, September 2017. This is the time when I started with modular. I saw a post from Syntopia about VCV Rack. I went, I checked it out. I felt directly at home. I felt comfortable with the modular environment. I felt that this is where I want to be, and this is how I want to make music. I was struggling a lot before with music making. I started in 2005 or 6 with making psytrance in Cubase. I deserted all of this to compose music for acoustic instruments, piano, flute, guitar. And then I discovered VCV Rack. And this is everything the modular is everything what I want. I can play multiple voices live at once. I have a conversation with the instrument. Yeah, so this is basically everything what I want. But I was struggling also a lot in learning everything. I mean, I started with VCV Rack for a long time before I got into hardware. Learned everything there. In the beginning, I didn't know the difference between attenuators and attenuverters. I used to call, instead of volt per octave, I used to say velocity per octave and stuff like this. But I learned slowly, and I was interested in it. I was curious. I wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more techniques, more why things happen also, and not just let it slide. I mean, I wanted to know why things happen also, so I can repeat them maybe later. And yeah, it feels right. Modular feels right for me, and I love it. This one is from Paiche. When are you making a video about the voltage block? Oh yes, the voltage block from Maleko. One of my favorite modules I got recently. Basically, I will put a picture somewhere here. It's an 8-channel CV sequencer. Each sequence can have its own length. Each sequence can have its own clock division. You can let it run in different directions. It's an amazing module, and I do want to make a video. I already thought about a few things that I want to show in the video. So yes, I hope that it will come soon. Okay, the next one is from Ellen Phillips. How to start a small hybrid setup. So this is a bit tricky because first of all, this is relative. What does it mean small? I mean, I will put also a picture somewhere here. There are the 4MS pods that are considered small, I guess. There is also the one, I have it here. This case from Arturia, the 3U, I forgot how many HP is this. This can also be small. I have also the IntelliGel 7U, which can also be considered small. By the way, they have a new case. Maybe this is a good place to start. I think IntelliGel are making a new case, a 4U case, so 3U and another row of 1U, which can be really interesting because it has already built-in mults. I also will put a picture somewhere. I saw it has built-in mults and also audio, and I believe also Midi, maybe not, I'm not so sure. So this can also be case-wise a good beginning. Small, again, depends what are you calling small, if it's something like a 4MS pod or something like an IntelliGel 4 or 7U. But how to begin, a few modules that I think you will need. So again, this also depends on what you want to do. If you want to send audio from VCV Rack to your hardware and from your hardware to VCV Rack, you might get away with using your audio interface. If it's from VCV to hardware, there is maybe a need to amplify it, but this you can do from the audio interface itself. Of course, you will need more inputs and outputs for this. If you want to send audio from your modular into VCV, or into your computer, never mind VCV, Ableton, whatever, you may need to attenuate it because the modular levels are higher than line levels, I believe. So you may need to attenuate it. Again, this you can do or with an attenuator within your case or in your audio interface. So you might be able to get away with using only your audio interface. If you have a DC coupled audio interface, something like a Motu, you can send signals CV, from VCV out. It will not work the other way around. I'm pretty sure that all of the DC coupled Motu interfaces at least will only output CV. So only the outputs are DC coupled and not the inputs. So you need to check this. So if you get, for example, a nice audio interface like a Motu, I have the UltraLite Mark IV. I don't think they make it anymore, but there is something similar to it that has also more inputs and outputs. And the outputs are DC coupled. So you might get away with this. You can send CV out from VCV to your modular and audio both ways. So this can be a good start if you want. It's not so cheap, but it's a good start. If you want to deal only with MIDI, so again, the IntelliGel case has MIDI built in. Maybe you will need to get the 1U MIDI module, but this is really helpful if you want to send MIDI into your case. And this is really easy. Hopefully it will be even better in the next version of VCV, because now the MIDI is not so stable, but in the next version, as I understood it, it should be more stable, so the MIDI would be easier to use. If you want to send MIDI from your case, you want to send CV from your case into VCV or Ableton or whatever, you can use something like the VCMC from Behringer. There is also a 6 HP version without all the faders. It's called CV thing or MIDI thing. CV thing, I think it's called. Also from Behringer, so you can send CV into your computer, convert it to MIDI. This works great. I use this a lot. Just sending all sorts of different triggers that I have from the modular and all sorts of, like the envelope follower from the Morphogene and stuff like this. I just send it through here. I have also the ES9. This is not a cheap solution. And this might not work for you because this is the ES8 and the ES9. If you get one of them, I would recommend the ES9, but I will say this, I will say also in a second why. But the ES8 and the ES9 are audio interfaces by themselves, and you might have issues having more than one audio interface at a time. On Windows, I know it's not possible at all. On Mac, maybe it's possible. Maybe you will have issues. Maybe it will not work 100% like you want it to work. So if you already have an audio interface, maybe the ES8 or ES9 are not the best solution for you. If you don't have an audio interface, I would recommend the ES9. First of all, it has more inputs, so you can send up to 14 signals into the computer. If you are dealing, this I'm using only for audio, so I have up to 7 stereo channels I can send, and you have 8 outputs that you can send signals out of your computer into your case, and this is audio and CV, of course, everything. And also here you have directly connections to your speakers if you have speakers you want to use, and you have also headphones, and it works also as standalone, which means that it will work also if you don't connect it through USB. So if you sit at night and you want to, you want to experiment with different modules, you want to learn a module without using your computer, you have 8 inputs you can use as standalone. I do this a lot. Just to learn modules without using the computer, without the need for sending signals. So this is also really helpful. Something else, again, depends what you mean a small setup, but those are the modules that I recommend. So if you want to deal with MIDI, if you're okay with MIDI, I would go for the IntelliGel solution, because then you have it in the 1U row, and you have more space for the 3U modules. If you're looking also for audio, maybe you can invest in a good audio interface. If you're looking for a small setup, maybe an audio interface will be easier to use, because the ES9, first of all, it's big, or it's quite big. I think it's 16 HP, and it takes a lot of energy. So I think it's around 400 milliampere. So if you are looking for a small setup, then maybe the ES9 is not the best solution unless you get a case just for the ES9. Yeah, again, this module, the MIDI modules, you need to look for a nice case. Depends what is a small setup, what else. I think that's it. Yeah, just keep in mind, one thing keep in mind, it sounds like a joke, but it's not, it's serious. This thing is addictive. It really is addictive. There is a chance that soon enough, or sooner than later, you will find yourself wanting more, and then you will have to change everything. So think deep, really, sleep on it a few days, a few nights. If you really want to get into this, because there is a chance that you will find yourself getting more and more and wanting more and more. Or if you say, yes, I want this, maybe don't start with a small setup. Don't aim for a small setup, because then you will have to change everything when you want to go to something bigger. Maybe start already with 7U, for example, or 6U or 7U, never mind if you want intelligent or not. And try not to buy a lot of modules at the beginning, but at least you will have space for more modules when time comes. So think heavily on this. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to write me, email me. I will be happy to try and help you. The next one is from Kevin Collier, how to create brass sounding voices. This is simpler than it looks, at least in my opinion. Brass means saw waves. So you take a sawtooth wave, you send it through a nice low pass filter, and the most important is reverb. A nice reverb, not so large, not so big, and the decay depends on how you want it to sound like. So again, sawtooth, low pass filter, and reverb. This is the basics, or those are the basics, and you can tweak it from there. Here, for example, I have the even VCO going through tangents, which is a really nice filter for stuff like this and for everything else. Also, tangents is life. And this is going through plateau, of course. So let's listen to this without the reverb first. You mentioned Colin Benders. If I remember correctly, if I understood it correctly, Colin liked to use filters as a tool to control amplitude. So you will close the filter all the way and control the amplitude with the filter. So you can try this. You can try also a VCA. The tricky part, if you want to get realistic brass sounding voices, the tricky part is the envelope. But I guess that you just want the sound itself and not to create realistic brass. So again, listen to this. And now with some reverb, not so much. You can see the size is a bit down. And let's play with the decay a bit. Already, let's say less decay. Maybe more. That's too much. So you can hear. Oh yeah. Sawtooth through a low pass filter. If you want to make this a bit more complex, you can use a few oscillators or something like Vesek from Volt, also available for free. It has 2 oscillators and all sorts of different features. Here I have them tuned an octave apart, and I have the mix more to the A oscillator, more to the lower one. You can choose them to have, I have both on saw. You can choose one triangle, one saw, one pulse, and you have other, oh yeah, other features here like FM if you want something a bit more growly. Or if you want to fold it a bit and get something. Oh man. So again, make sure you choose modules that sound deep. Everything Volt, of course, will sound nice and warm. The Even VCO also sounds nice. There are other oscillators you can experiment with. The filter is also really important. Oh man, again, everything Volt. Yeah, so try experimenting with this. Let's add, what else can we do? Shape AM, let's say amplitude modulation. Maybe a bit less. Yeah, so Sawtooth through a nice low pass filter and reverb. Experiment with the reverb, with the size and the decay. And yeah, and I hope this was helpful. Okay, the last question is from Arkady. Basically, with which sample rate should I work with? You mentioned that I work with 44.1. Actually, I'm working by default with 48 since a year, maybe half a year. I have to be honest, I don't hear a difference between 44.1, 48, 96, or even above. I don't hear a difference. I don't think it's necessary. I think 48 is more than enough. I went with 48 just because it's not the lowest, so 44.1, and it's not too high, so it's somewhere in between. I cannot hear a difference. I don't think it's necessary unless you are processing the sound a lot after recording it after the fact. So time stretching or pitch shifting or stuff like this where you need the resolution. Unless you're doing something like this, I don't think it's necessary to go up to 96. I think 48 is more than enough. Up until recently, I had also a block size of 128, so 48 kilohertz. And a block size of 128, it was amazing. I could build huge patches. I also streamed like this, build enormous patches without even clicking or popping once. I don't know what happened, something with the Windows update or I don't know what. The performance went down, so I had to go up to 512. I still don't hear any difference, I have to be honest. Maybe there's a bit of latency, but this has nothing to do with the sample rate. So I think, again, Arkady, 48 is more than enough. There is no need to go to 96 unless you are doing a lot of post-processing to the sound. Again, time stretching, pitch shifting, and the likes where you need a resolution. I would go with 48. If you hear a difference, let me know. I would like to hear it also. I couldn't hear any difference between 48 and 96 and 44.1. Yeah, so this is about the sample rate. Okay, let's move on now to the Discord challenge. Every month there is a different challenge on the Discord channel, on the Patreon Discord channel. This time we had composing with microtonal scales. You can see the submissions in a second. They were super interesting. This month we have something fun. Again, you can do this in VCV or in hardware, but all of your sounds, all of your voices have to go through a reverb that's 100% wet. Aha. I will put all of the details in the Discord channel, so if you're a Patreon, make sure to join our Discord. Thanks again so much for your support, and cheers.